Happy holidays, everyone. I am so glad to spend this evening with you. I hope that you've had a wonderful weekend of a variety of voices, crafts, fun, games, you name it. I love the perspective that our crafting community gives us. And my name is Jennifer with DP Addiction Adventures, and I hope as you round out this weekend that the time we have together brings you some joy and some peace and comfort. And I don't know, maybe you're going to fall asleep because you're in a carb coma. Maybe you're a night out and you're just waking up. Who knows? So I'm really glad that you're here. And I wanted to show you, I'm currently going to be working a little bit on Happy Christmas, Kristen. Which one of these is Kristen? Happy Christmas by Susan Rios. And it is a round 80 by 60 centimeter from Dreamer Designs. And so I'm just going to work on it a little bit as we talk. In the past, I've done games. I've done like guess the Christmas Carol through emojis. I've done Christmas traditions. And this year I was perplexed. What do we do together for the next, 50, 60 minutes? And this thought came to me. I was listening to some Christmas carols and I'm like, I wonder what the history of these carols are, because it's old school carols. Like there's always new things like Santa Baby, and things like that come out. But I was wondering, I heard a lot over the past couple weeks of memories as kids going around the neighborhood doing Christmas caroling, or I was a Girl Scout. We would go to the nursing homes and we would do Christmas carols from room to room, things like that. And I thought, some of these Christmas carols, what's the history behind who wrote them, why they were written? Some of the carols aren't even meant for Christmas and just ended up a Christmas or holiday carol. And so as I was diving, I noticed like there's a bunch of things, the history of surrounding this holiday. And so I thought, while you guys craft or rest on the couch or eat your second meal of the day, Christmas style, that we would go through some of these. I'm going to list down below the website I got this from, and they have a whole slew of Christmas traditions and customs. Like, why was the 25th of December picked? What's behind Christmas bells? Why candles, candy canes, Christmas cake, elf on a shelf, like everything Christmas related is from this website. But I wanted to go through the history of Christmas carols. And one of the interesting things, let me get something on my diamond painting pen. And while you're waiting for me to read this, go ahead and put what you're currently doing right now. I know I joke about how Jennifer of Christmas Past is who's talking to you, and Jennifer of Christmas Present is who's currently in the chat right now with you. And who knows what Jennifer of Christmas Future, where she's up to. But go ahead and put it in the chat what you're doing. Are you resting? Are you with family? Are you eating? Are you diamond painting? Are you crocheting, cross stitching? What are you doing right now? So back to Christmas carols. I just went off the site. It just says that they were first sung in Europe thousands of years ago, but they weren't considered Christmas carols. They were actually Christian pagan songs. They were sung during the winter solstice, and people danced around the stone circles. And the winter solstice, if you don't know, is the shortest day of the year, and it's around December 22nd. Where the word carol came up from is it actually means dance or song of praise and joy. And they were usually written and sung during all the four seasons, but only Christmas, the tradition of singing them survived around Christmas time. So if you don't know, historically, Christmas is faith-based, remembering the birth of Jesus. It started to be celebrated around the solstice, so that's where early Christians started singing Christian songs. They replaced the pagan pre-Christian songs with Christian songs. In 129, which is a long time ago, like 2,000 years ago, a Roman bishop said that a song called Angel's Hymn could be sung at a service in Rome. And then other Christmas hymns were written. And then throughout the next couple years, hundreds of years, these carols were sung in church services. Then composers all over Europe started to write these, but many people did not like them because they were all written and sung in Latin. This is a language that people really didn't understand. And so by the time of the Middle Ages, which is around the 1200s, most people had lost interest in celebrating Christmas altogether. So that's a little bit, we're going to dig in a little bit deeper. I'm going to put down one or two drills while we talk. So after this, in 1223 AD, a person by the name of Saint Francis of Assisi, he changed all this, and he started these nativity plays in Italy. And in the plays, people sang songs, or what is called, I'm gonna butcher this, cantessels. And they told a story during the plays. And the choruses sometimes were these new carols, but they were in Latin. And the choruses of these, they were in Latin. And so, it said sometimes, sorry, I'm reading off of the site. Sometimes the choruses of the new carols were in Latin, but normally they were in all the languages that the people watching the play could understand and join in. So these new carols spread across Europe. We're talking France, Spain, Germany, and other European countries. The earliest carol similar to this was written in 1410, but sadly only a few small fragments of it still exist. The carol was about Mary and Jesus meeting different people in Bethlehem. So most of the carols from this time and the Elizabethan period are untrue stories, very loosely based on the Christmas story about the Holy Family, which is Mary, Joseph, and Jesus. And they were seen as entertaining rather than religious songs. They were usually sung in homes rather than churches, and traveling singers or minstrels started singing these carols, and the words were changed for the local people wherever they were traveling. One of the carols that changed was I Saw Three Ships. Interesting. Which I kind of smiled to myself because I thought of like the concerts I've been to, how sometimes instead of saying this city or something, they'll mention the city that they're in. I thought, oh, that's kind of something we do nowadays as well. All right, so now we're up to the 1640s when the Puritans came into power in England. And the celebration of Christmas and singing carols stopped, but they survived because people sang them in secrets. Carols still remain unsung until the Victorian times, when two men called William Sandys and Davis Gilbert collected lots of old Christmas music from the villages. Carols were sung as folk songs in places like pubs, but they often weren't thought of as proper or nice songs by the middle or upper class. That's interesting. So, caroling did not start in churches. Interesting. They started in, well, they progressed in pubs. That's what saved them. Before carol singing in places like churches became popular, there were sometimes official carol or singers called waits. These were bands of people led by important local leaders, such as council leaders, who only had the only power in the towns and villages to take money from the public. They were called waits because they sang on Christmas Eve. This was sometimes known as watch night or wait night because of the shepherds who were watching their sheep when the angels appeared. Interesting. At this time, many orchestras and choirs were being set up in the cities of England, and people wanted Christmas songs to sing. So carols once again became popular in churches and concert halls. Many new carols, such as Good King Wenceslas, I always butcher that, forgive me, were also written in the Victorian period. New carol services were created and became popular, as did the custom of singing carols in the streets. Both of these customs are still popular today. Yeah, so what do you guys think of that? That is really interesting. I just read that a couple days ago and thought, interesting. So then I wanted to go, I wonder what some of the history of the songs themselves are. So I'm going to put this down below as well. Reader's Digest did a story on this, and it was published or updated on December 8th, 2022, written by Elisa Rowland, or at least updated by Elisa Rowland. And I'm just going to go through a couple of the songs. She did 10 of them. So the first one is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Did you know that Rudolph got his start in advertising? So in 1939, the Great Depression started to fade and World War II was lurking around the corner, and Christmas cheer was in short supply. So this department store, Montgomery Ward, took on themselves to get children and families into the holiday spirit by creating a free book for kids. So they talked to admin Robert May, who came up with the idea of a reindeer as his main character. All right, so then according to history.com, he peered out into the fog, this is a quote, that had drifted off Lake Michigan. May came up with the idea of a misfit reindeer ostracized because of his luminescent nose, who used his physical abnormality to guide Santa's sleigh and save Christmas. So Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer appeared out of the fog. Who would have thought? What lives out in the fog? So May, as a limerick writer, he loved alliteration. Alliteration is where you use words with the same first sound in a row. And so he brainstormed different names that began with the letter R, like Rodney, Rudolph, Rollo. And luckily Rudolph stuck because he thought about singing Rollo the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Just wouldn't be the same. The book was a huge success, but they signed the copyright over to May, the person who wrote it, in 1947. And 2 years later, his brother-in-law, a songwriter, put it to music. Ben Crosby was given the first opportunity to sing it, but he declined it, and so Gene Autry recorded the song. So yes, that's the first song. Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas actually was written by Hugh Martin. He was fooling around with a little melody back in 1944 and it wasn't working. He played around with it for 2 or 3 days, and then the article says he threw it into the wastebasket. However, his songwriting partner in 1989 told NPR that he made Blaine get it out of the trash. And good thing, because Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas is still here. And the background was that he was writing a song for the film Meet in St. Louis. and the song was a little bit too melancholy for Judy Garland's character in the movie. So they rewrote the lyrics to be a little cheerier, and that's what you have today. Okay. Okay, Frosty the Snowman. In 1950, Walter Jack Rollins and Steve Nelson wrote the song Frosty the Snowman for Gene Autry, who had hit it big the year before for singing what we just talked about, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. However, Frosty was more of a wintertime song than a holiday tune. In fact, it wasn't until 1969, so 19 years later, that Christmas was incorporated into the song's lyrics for a TV special. The original lyrics were, "But he waved goodbye, saying, 'Don't you cry, I'll be back again someday.' But they were changed for the animated show to be sung, 'But he waved goodbye, saying, 'Don't you cry, I'll be back on Christmas Day.'" Now, what's interesting about this is I actually was playing a trivia game, and both of these answers were in the trivia game, and I was like, what? So it was kind of fun to see what was behind it. So how about Little Drummer Boy? This article goes on to say that nobody knows for sure who wrote this popular carol. It was once called Carol of the Drums due to the refrain, "Pa-rumpa-pump-pump," that sounds like beating on a drum. Credit has been attributed to famous American classic music composer and teacher Catherine K. Davis, who may have based the song on an old Czech carol. Though the recording artist Henry Onrati and Harry Simone also get credit, and the daughter of the composer Jack Harrowin claims that her father was the originator of the version we all know and love. While we may never know what the true source of the song is, you can bet the refrain stuck in your head for the rest of the season. Now bring us some figgy pudding and a cup of good cheer. Although figgy pudding may have fallen out of fashion, the carol "We Wish You a Merry Christmas" is still going strong. Dates back to the 16th century, but no one knows who actually wrote it. It truly embodies the caroling spirit. All right, and the last one, Grandma Got Ran Over by a Reindeer. Oh my goodness. It's not the best caroling choice, but it's certainly been a fan favorite since 1979 when it was recorded by Elmo and Patsy. Songwriter Randy Brooks and his band had car trouble in Lake Tahoe and got stranded. They ended up being invited on stage at a local club to join headliners Elmo and Patsy. Brooks played his novelty song. They liked it so much they asked if they could cut it as a single, and the rest is history. Brooks never had any other big hits, but Grandma's Demise has been on the air every Christmas since then. Oh my goodness, that is funny. All right, so I'm going to take a quick 30-second break, and then you're going to take a millisecond break. And we're going to go over the 12 days of Christmas really quickly, the history of Christmas cards, the colors of Christmas, and the history of the Christmas tree. So take a deep breath, and this is going to slide into the next video. Okay, guys, I'm back. That was a millisecond for you, but a lot of life has passed since we last met 1 second ago. So as you can see, my background is different. I'm in a different state. And yeah, so let's hop back into the history and what we're talking about. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was the history of Christmas cards. So again, when I was thinking about doing this video, I was thinking about the different history of the holidays and why do we do the things that we do. And one of the things I was looking at is Christmas cards. I haven't sent any out this year or last year. But I used to actively send them out every year. We'd go from just normal Christmas cards sent out to our friends and family to writing that little one-page summary of what's happened over the year to just putting family pictures and sending a postcard out. What kind of Christmas cards do you guys do? Well, Christmas greetings, people have been sending them around for hundreds of years. The first one recorded with the use of Merry Christmas was in a Christmas letter sent in 1534. It's like 500 years ago. The first known item that looked a bit like a Christmas card was given to King James I of England, who was also King James the Sixth of Scotland. Talk about an identity crisis. Am I King James 1 or King James 6? Depends on the country I'm in. And this was in 1611. This was more like a large ornamental manuscript rather than a card that we think of today. It was 33 inches by 24 inches and was folded into panels. It might have been folded so it could be carried around. It had a picture of a rose in the center, and a Christmas and New Year message to the king and his son was written into and around the rose. I'll put a picture in here for you guys to see. It also had 4 poems and a song in it, so rather more than what are on cards today, right? So the custom of sending Christmas cards as we know them was started in the UK in 1843 by Sir Henry Cole. He was a senior civil servant, a government worker who had helped set up the new public record office, which is now called the post office. He was an assistant keeper and wondered how it could be used more for ordinary people rather than just the government. So Sir Henry had the idea of Christmas cards with his friend, John Horsley, who was an artist. They designed the first card and sold them for 1 shilling. This is about 5 pence or 8 cents today. But in those days, it was worth much more. The card had 3 panels. The outer panel showed people caring for the poor, and then the center panel was a family having a large Christmas dinner. Some people didn't like the card because it showed a child being given a glass of wine. Interesting. He made about 1,000 of them. And they were printed and sold. They're very rare now and cost thousands of pounds or dollars to buy now. The original cards were advertised with the slogan, "Just published, a Christmas congratulation card." The first postal service that ordinary people could use was started around 1840. Many of us in the United States know it as the penny post. Public post deliveries began. Before that, only very rich people could afford to send anything. The new post office was able to offer a penny stamp because of the new railways being built. These could carry much more than a horse and carriage that had been used before, and the trains could go a lot faster. Cards became more popular in the UK when they could be posted in an unsealed envelope for 1/2 penny, half the price of an ordinary letter. And then, as printing methods improved, Christmas cards became much more popular and were produced in large numbers from about 1860. In 1870, the cost of sending a postcard and also Christmas cards dropped to 1/2 penny, which meant most people were able to send cards. The first cards usually had pictures of the nativity scene on them. In the late Victorian time, British bird, the robin, snow scenes became popular, and sometimes the postmen were nicknamed Robin Postmen because of the red uniforms they wore. Let's see. Snow scenes were popular because they reminded people of the very bad winter that happened in the UK in 1864. In the 1840s is when Christmas cards appeared here in the United States. They were very expensive and most people could not afford them. In 1875, Louis Prang, a printer who was originally from Germany, but who had also worked on earlier cards in the UK, started mass producing cards so more people could afford to buy them. Mr. Prang's first card featured flowers, plants, and children. And in 1915, John C. Hall and 2 of his brothers created the Hallmark cards. These are still one of the biggest card makers today. So that's where Hallmark came into effect in 1915. Annie Oakley in 1891 is known to have the first personalized Christmas card. She was a famous sharpshooter and the star of Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. In 1991, she sent cards back to her friends and family in the United States featuring a photo of herself. In the 1910s and 1920s, homemade cards became popular. They were often unusual shapes and had things such as foil and ribbon on them. They were usually too delicate to send through the post and were given by hand. And nowadays, you guys know this, cards have all sorts of pictures on them, jokes, winter pictures, Santa Claus, or romantic scenes of life and past times. Charities often sell their own Christmas cards as a way of raising money. Let's see, charities also make money from seals or stickers used to seal the card envelopes, and this custom started in Denmark in the early 1900s by a postal worker. Who thought it would be a good way for charities to raise money, as well as making the cards more decorative. It was a great success, and over 4 million were sold in the first year. So yeah, there's the custom of Christmas cards and the history behind them. I just thought that was really interesting. So what kind of Christmas cards do you send out? Do you like getting cards? I like getting cards. I notice that if I send cards out first, I don't know if you guys do this too, but if I send cards out first, that Christmas I receive more cards. I think it's more the tit for tat that people do. Or people forget where I live and wait for my card and then they have my address. So moving on, the colors of Christmas. So normally we think of colors as red, green, and gold, or red, green, and white. So let's talk about why they're that color. So the first color we're diving in is green. Now, if you've been around the Christmas holiday, you probably can put two and two together. But green represents the evergreen plants like holly, ivy, and mistletoe. They've been used for thousands of years to decorate and brighten up buildings during the long winters. They also reminded people that spring would come and that winter would not last forever. Evidently, they do not live in West Michigan during a blizzard, or in New York, or in all of those states that have lots of snow and have winter about 9 months out of the year. The Romans would exchange evergreen branches during January as a sign of good luck. The ancient Egyptians used to bring palm branches into their houses during the winter month festivals. In many parts of Europe during the Middle Ages, paradise plays were performed, and often on Christmas Eve. They told Bible stories to people who couldn't read, and the paradise tree in the Garden of Eden in the play was normally a pine tree with red apples tied to it. The most common use of green at Christmas are Christmas trees. So then we have red, and red is a representation of the apples on the paradise tree. They also represent the fall of Adam in the plays. Red is also the color of the holly berries, which is said to represent the blood of Jesus when he died on the cross. Red is also the color of bishop robes. These would have been worn by St. Nicholas, and then they became Santa's uniform. Gold is considered the color of sun and light. They're both very important in the dark winter, and both red and gold are colors of fire that you need to keep you warm. Gold was also one of the presents brought to baby Jesus by the wise men, and is traditionally its color used to show the star that the wise men followed. Silver is sometimes used instead or with gold, but gold is considered a warmer color. White is associated with purity and peace in Western cultures, and the snow of winter, which is also very white. White paper wafers were also sometimes used to decorate the paradise trees. The wafers represented the bread eaten during the Christmas communion or Mass when Christians remembered that Jesus died for them. White is used by most churches as the color of Christmas when the altar is covered with a white cloth. Blue is often associated with Mary, the mother of Jesus, and in medieval times, blue dye and paint was more expensive than gold, so it would be worn by royal families and very rich people. Mary was often painted wearing blue to show she was very important. Blue can also represent the color of the sky and heaven. And finally, purple. During Advent, purple and sometimes blue is used in most churches for the color of the altar cloth, and then red is used in the Russian Orthodox Church. So that's just a little history and background of why certain colors are used as Christmas. And then moving on, I love this site. Definitely check it out. I put the link down below. It has lots of Christmas traditions and customs. So there's the history of the Christmas trees. So evergreen trees and other evergreen plants have traditionally been used to celebrate winter festivals. This was pre-Christian and pagan, and also Christian for thousands of years. Pre-Christian pagans used branches of evergreen trees to decorate their home during the winter solstice, as it made them think of spring to come. Romans used fir trees to decorate their temples at the festivals. However, they were quite different to what we think of now as Christmas trees. Nobody is really sure where the fir trees were first used as Christmas trees. It probably began 1,000 years ago in Northern Europe. Christmas trees might have started out as those paradise trees we talked about with the apples. They were also used in medieval German mysteries or miracle plays that were acted out in front of churches during the Advent on Christmas Eve. In early church calendars of saints, the 24th of December was considered Adam and Eve's day. The paradise tree represented the Garden of Eden, and it's often paraded around town before the plays started. Christmas trees, as they come to be now, started around the late 1400s and into the 1500s in what's now Germany. The paradise tree had more decorations on it, like we said, communion wafers, cherries, later pastry decorations of stars, bells, angels. They even got the new nickname of Christbaum or Christ tree. Some early Christmas trees across the parts of Northern Europe were cherry or hawthorn plants. They were put into pots and brought inside so they would hopefully flower at Christmas time. If you couldn't afford a real plant, people made pyramids of wood, and they were decorated to look like a tree with paper, apples, and candles. Well, or if you're like me and I kill things, you get a fake tree. It's possible that the wooden pyramid trees were meant to be like the paradise trees. Sometimes they were carried around from house to house rather than being displayed in the home. Some trees were hung from the ceiling, mainly in some parts of Germany. The first documented use of a tree at Christmas and New Year celebrations is argued between the cities of Tallinn in Estonia and Riga in Latvia. Both claim they had the first trees, Tallinn in 1441 and Riga in 1510. Both trees were put up by the Brotherhood of Blackheads, which is associated with the local unmarried merchants, ship owners, and foreigners of Livonia, which is now Estonia and Latvia. Little is known about either tree apart from that they were put in the town square and danced around by the Brotherhood of the Blackheads and then set on fire. Oh, the demise of the tree to be set on fire. Let's see here. In 1584, the historian Rousseau wrote about a tradition in Riga of a decorated fir tree in the market square, where the young men went with a flock of maidens and women and first sang and danced there and then set the tree aflame. There was a record of a small tree in Bremen, Germany from 1570, and it's described as a tree decorated with apples, nuts, dates, pretzels, and paper flowers. The first person to bring a tree into the house, in the way we know of it, may have been in the 16th century, the German preacher Martin Luther. The story is told that one night before Christmas, he was walking through the forest, looked up to see the stars shining through the tree branches. It was so beautiful that he went home and told his children that it reminded him of Jesus. who left the stars of heaven to come to earth at Christmas. So he brought a tree into his house and decorated it with candles to represent the stars. Some people say this is the same tree as the Riga tree, but it isn't. The story about Martin Luther seems to date about 1536, and the Riga tree originally took place a couple decades earlier. The custom of having Christmas trees could well have traveled along the Baltic Sea from Latvia to Germany, and in the 14 and 1500s, the countries which are now Germany and Latvia, who were part of a larger empire, which were neighbors. Fir or other evergreen trees like conifers were common throughout Northern Europe at this time, so that's why firs and conifers became the standard Christmas tree. Hanging trees upside down has been connected with St. Boniface. One story or theory says he used the triangle shape of an upside down fir tree to help explain the Trinity of the Christian faith. Being upside down, it looked a bit like a cross, so it also helped the explanation of the crucifix. Let's see what else we have here. In Germany, the first Christmas trees were decorated with edible things such as gingerbread and gold-covered apples. And in 1605, an unknown German wrote, "At Christmas, they set up fir trees in the parlors of Strasbourg and hang thereon roses cut out of many colored paper, apples, wafers, gold foil, and sweets." At first, a figure of baby Jesus was put on top of the tree, but over time it changed into a star like the wise men saw, or an angel/fairy that told the shepherds about Jesus. The angel might also have started as a version of the Christ child, which translates into, Christ kid, which translates into the Christ child. But it's normally shown as a little angel figure with blonde hair. And it just goes on and on to talk about the Christmas tree. Christmas skirts started as Christmas tree carpets. They were made from heavy fabric, often decorated with fancy frills around the edges. They were used to catch the needles from the tree and protect the floor or tabletops from the dripping wax from the candles. Let's see here. Oh, tinsels. This is a fun background story of tinsels and the legend of the Christmas spider. So tinsel was first created in Germany in 1878 when thin strips of silver foil were sold as icicles. In 1880, angel hair made from spun glass was sold. The first tinsel garlands were sold in the 1890s from silver-plated copper wire. But when plastic man-made tinsel was invented, it became very popular as it was much cheaper than metal tinsel and also lighter to go on the tree. But there's a folk story about how tinsel was created by the Christmas spider. And I heard this on the radio the other day, and that may be what inspired me to go down this history route as well, subconsciously. So I'm just going to go over this story. It's really cool. All right. All versions of this story involve a poor family who can't afford to decorate a tree for Christmas. When the children go to sleep on Christmas Eve, I'm going to add a little pizzazz to this because this is just, yeah. So the story basically goes that a mom and her kids have a tree, but they don't have enough money to decorate the tree or put gifts under the tree. And so the kids go to bed, and the mom is just beside herself, and she just says this prayer, and she's like, "I wish I could decorate the tree. I wish I had gifts for the tree, etc., etc." And so the children go to sleep, and the spider hears this mom's prayer. And so he goes and he gets all his spider friends, and while they're asleep, they cover the tree in cobwebs. And on Christmas morning, the kids run and see the tree, and it's glistening, and the light and from the outside And the kids wake up the mom, Mom, look at the tree. And the tree is just so beautiful. And God looked down and blessed the spider and the family, and the spider webs turned into silver and gold. And that's where they came up with potentially tinsel. So some of the versions say it was the light of the sun that changed the cobwebs into silver and gold. Others say it was St. Nicholas, Santa Claus, Father Christmas, or God. In parts of Germany, Poland, and Ukraine, it's meant to be good luck to find a spider or spider web on your Christmas tree. Now, Christmas tree lights. There's a few different claims as to who invented or popularized the first string of electric Christmas lights. In 1880, the famous inventor Thomas Edison put some new electrical light bulbs around his office. And in 1882, Edward Johnson, who was a colleague of Edison, hand-strung 80 red, white, and blue bulbs together and put them on the tree in his New York apartment. The lights were about the size of a walnut. So in 1890, the Edison Company published a brochure offering lighting services for Christmas. And in 1900, another Edison Advent offered bulbs which you could rent along with their lighting system for use over Christmas. The records in a diary from 1891 where settlers in Montana used electric lights on the tree. However, most people couldn't easily use electrical tree lights at this time as it wasn't widely used in homes, but rich people like to show off the lights just for Christmas. They would have cost about $300 per tree. That's more than $2,000 today. That's pretty interesting. Now we take for granted. Christmas lights, for real, for real. So that's a lot about the story of Christmas. So I'm going to end with just a few little Christmas carol guesses since we talked about the history of Christmas. So I'm going to put on the screen just some different songs. I did this last year as well. So here you go. We're going to start with, I'm going to call this the Christmas lyric quiz. So the first one is White Christmas. It says, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and you have to fill in the blank. Do, 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 do. We just watched this movie right before I did this filming. So it should be, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. Here's one. Let it snow. Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the blank. Since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. Since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Winter Wonderland. In the meadow, we can build a snowman and pretend that he's a blank. We'll have lots of fun with Mr. Snowman until the other kids knock him down. This one was tricky. I missed this one when we did a work party. In the meadow, we can build a snowman and pretend that he's a circus clown. We'll do one more. O come, all ye faithful. O sing blank, sing in exultation. O come, ye Bethlehem. O come and behold him, born the King of angels. Guys, can you get this? How many of you sing Christmas carols? I love singing Christmas carols. O sing choirs of angels, sing in exultation. O come ye to Bethlehem. O come and behold him, born the King of angels. So that's just a little snippet of what you can do with Christmas carols, and just kind of play around with your family, see if they know Christmas carols. Go look it up. So I just want to thank you. I hope you're enjoying your craft. I'm going to get back to enjoying my family. So from my heart to yours, I love you all, and I hope you have a great holiday and special time within your heart. Be blessed. Take care. Bye-bye.